I put out a video earlier this week. We had drones stolen from Fort Campbell, the Counterterrorism Center director resigning, that shortwave radio transmission some people think could have been an activation signal, the FBI warning tied to possible Iranian retaliation in California, and the broader question of whether we're walking into something here at home while everybody's eyes are on Iran. And that video ended up to be my most watched one in a long time. And the comments told me something interesting. Not only are you worried, but you're also connecting dots. And some of you are connecting dots that I hadn't even gotten to yet. So let's do an update together and not necessarily draw any conclusions until we think that they are demanded by the evidence. So, first dot. Someone in my comments said that the FBI fired analysts and agents with expertise tracking Iranian intelligence and espionage threats inside the U.S., and that this happened before the war started, before the strikes, before the retaliation. Now, I was able to confirm this due to some reporting that says Kash Patel's firings hit personnel from the FBI's Global Counter-Espionage Unit, including people with expertise related to Iran. Now, lawmakers have raised the alarm publicly, and they're asking what happens when you gut that kind of capacity days before a conflict with Iran turns hot. Now, that doesn't answer every question, but it answers enough to know that the question is very real. Second dot. Someone else says that drones were sighted over a military installation where Hegseth and Rubio are currently residing. That is also real. U.S. officials detected unidentified drones over Fort Leslie J. McNair, the Washington base where both of those men live. Now, what officials still haven't explained is who was operating them, where they came from, or what they were doing there. That is no small detail. That's the whole problem. Third dot. And this one stopped me cold. A commenter said that on the morning of February 28th at 5:50 in the morning, they, I guess, personally observed heavy air activity, like Israeli military aircraft and a U.S. Stratotanker, before the broader public understood what was already underway. So I think she's asking, who hit who first? And at this point, that part of the timeline is a lot clearer than it was when people first started asking. The U.S. and Israel launched the opening strike, and Iran retaliated afterward with missiles and drones. What I can't necessarily verify is her personal account of what happened, or where she was, or exactly what she saw, or whether the aircraft she identified were the ones involved. Feel free to send me more info, commenter, if you have them. But what I can say is that her question is a real issue, or points out a real issue. This was a coordinated preemptive operation, and the public still deserves a much clearer accounting of how the timeline unfolded, and what officials knew, and when they knew it. And that's exactly the kind of question that journalists should be pressing with everything they have. But instead, we've got an FCC chairman who's publicly threatening broadcasters over the Iran war coverage. Convenient timing, isn't it? So, taking all this into account, here's about where we are. You have an intelligence system that has been dramatically weakened. You have a counterterrorism director who walked out the door. You have confirmed reporting that personnel with Iran-related counter-espionage expertise were pushed out before this conflict escalated. You have stolen military-grade drones tied to a real theft on a U.S. base with a measly $5,000 reward tied to information. You really want those back? $5,000? You have confirmed drone incursions, then, over the base where the Defense Secretary and the Secretary of State live. You have a shortwave radio transmission that triggered public concern and hasn't been really explained. You have an FBI-linked California warning that the White House later said was based on an unverified tip. And you have my audience, thankfully, regular people who are very much paying attention. And they're telling us what they're seeing. Thank you for that. Now, I do want to take a moment to talk about what a lot of you are actually afraid of. What comes after the attack? Because people in these comments are scared something is going to happen. They're scared it's going to be allowed to happen. And I really understand why. Because we have a documented history of that, right? Gulf of Tonkin, the incident that escalated Vietnam, was later shown to have been misrepresented to Congress and the American public. At a bare minimum, the warnings before September 11th and the intelligence failures around those warnings are still being studied and argued over and cited as a warning about what happens when systems miss what's right in front of them. I'm telling you that the fear you're expressing is in no way irrational. It has a lot of precedent. And people who ask these questions before something happens are the only things standing between a free people and a government that has learned repeatedly that crisis is mighty useful. Now, what I will say is this. The answer to that fear is not paralysis. It is, at a bare minimum, documentation. It's questions that are loud enough that they can't be buried. It's making sure that if something happens, there is a public record, your record, of what we knew, what we asked, and what we were never told. That is in some ways, it might seem small, but it is in some ways how you survive a moment like this and keep your eyes wide open while doing so. As we head into another weekend, please stay aware, stay safe, and stay sharp. I'll see you soon.